Hello the internet, this is Eduardo Prospero transmitting live from the Museum of Dead Media, and this thing here is a cassette, KCT, covered in dust. Obviously it doesn't matter because it doesn't exist anymore, and today we're going to talk about Elon Musk simulation theory. I know it's not his theory. I'm not going to refute simulation theory per se. I think there's an argument there. Maybe we live in a simulation. I don't know. I'm just going to refute Elon Musk's statements about it. Down in the description there are 3 videos in which he talks about this, and he basically says the same thing, and I'm going to paraphrase it for practical reasons. So what he says is that 30 years ago we used to have fun playing Pong, and in this short period of time the video games have evolved to be photorealistic and to be immersive, and here starts the syllogism. If we assume that the curve of innovation is going to keep going up, even if it's not at the rate we are seeing it right now, even if it's at 0.001 of the rate we're seeing it right now, we can infer that in the future we're going to have simulation experiences that are indistinguishable from reality. That's the second proposition. And the third proposition is that every computer and every video game console is going to be able to run that simulation. And the conclusion Elon Musk arrives to is that there's that the possibility that we're in base reality is 1 in billions, because billions of computers will be able to run that simulation, and maybe that already happened and we are in a simulation. That's what he says, and he always challenged the audience to tell him what's wrong in that statement, and nobody can answer him because nobody dares to answer him because he's Elon Musk, but Eduardo Prospero is here. So that the statement he makes is kind of a syllogism. A syllogism is an artifact of logic and deduction that consists on 2 propositions, and then from those 2 propositions the thinker arrives at a conclusion. And they have a lot of rules, and I know this Elon Musk statement doesn't follow all those rules, but I didn't make it, he did. And but we can take his the basic rule of syllogisms and apply it to Elon's statement. And the basic rule is that the 2 propositions have to be true for the conclusion to be considered true. And let's go one by one. His conclusion is that there's 1 in a billion possibility that we are in base reality. And the third proposition is that like 1 billion computers or video game consoles are going to be able to run that simulation. That may be wrong. The experiences we have now, the VR experiences we have now, Oculus Rift and HTC Vive, they require a lot of computing power, but it's still available for the consumer at home. So let's not take issue with that statement, even though I don't think it's totally true. The first statement is that the curve of innovation is going to keep going up. I don't see a problem there. The problem is with the second statement, that we can infer from that that we are going to make a simulation that's undistinguishable from reality. And I haven't really experienced the Oculus Rift or HTC Vive virtual reality experiences, which is what we have now, the most advanced thing we have now. I have been writing about them for a blog I'm working on, and I hear great things about it. I hear it's very immersive. I hear people, after they take the glasses off, they feel disoriented in this reality, and that it's a compelling experience and it's really cool, and I don't doubt that. I don't have a reason to, but there are still things I can say from my perspective, not even having experienced that invalidate the second proposition. And those are, first, that there are 5 senses. We are just working on 2 now. We are working on sight, we're working on sound, but there's no touch, there's no taste, there's no smell, there's no guarantee that these 3 things are going to be solved, that these 3 senses are going to be incorporated. There's no guarantee, and let's leave it like that. The second thing is what Robert Anton Wilson said, that the map is not the territory, that the menu is not the meal, there's something extra about reality that we can put in the words. There's more, even more than the senses. Let's take a tree, for example. A picture of a tree is not a tree, even if it's the most photorealistic graphics you have ever seen. That's not a tree. If you believe in the theory of evolution, a tree has millions of years of information in every molecule. A leaf has millions of years of information. There are just a couple hundred years. Technology just has a couple hundred years, or 1,000 years. Depends on where you want to put the origin of technology, what you consider the origin of technology. But the thing is not even close to nature. Nature is a technology much more advanced, incredibly more advanced than anything the human can even conceive, and that's that. The third thing is suspension of disbelief. When you put those glasses, those VR glasses on, you want to believe that the thing is real, but if you don't want to believe it's real, if your brain refuses to believe it's real, it becomes much harder to fool it. And there's also the progression of the brain, and this can be proven, for example, with the December, you know. For example, with special effects, the special effects on the movies, maybe you see it once and it fools you into believing there's something there, there's something real there. But if you see that movie multiple times, you can detect all the little things, the little details that tell you that that's a special effect. And let's not even talk about 2 years from now. 2 years down the line, you go back and watch the effects that once fooled you, and they look terrible, and you can't even believe that they fooled you once, and that's because your brain is always looking at new special effects, and it's always noticing new things and watching the technology evolve, and your brain is aware of all of that. So you can't assume that we're going to have a technology that is advanced enough to fool the brain all the time. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on my brain. Another important one is human attention, because Elon Musk is talking about 10,000 years, maybe in 10,000 years, something like that. But just 30 or 40 years ago, they were promising us flying cars, flying skateboards, going off the planet, the space, other planets, all of that. And then computers came and everybody was like, fuck all that, forget it. Human attention shifted from all of those things in the real world to the virtual world, to the computers. And who's to say the same thing can happen to video games and to computers? Something comes, substitutes the focus of human attention, and everybody forgets about virtual worlds and all that. And it can happen. I'm not saying definitely it would happen. I can't imagine what will substitute something as important nowadays as computers, but something could happen, and I can be wrong. Maybe we will, as a species, we will solve all these problems and create a simulation that is undistinguishable from reality, but we can't assume that it will happen. I don't think he thought that all the way through. Maybe he did and he's just trying to fool you. That's another possibility. We can't assume it will happen. It's not guaranteed. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. So the whole argument is invalid. Elon Musk, your argument is invalid. Boom, called it, confirmed. That's Game of Thrones Academy. I win, Elon Musk loses, Eduardo Prospero 1, Elon Musk 0, and this is over. Eduardo speaks, live from the Museum of Dead Media. And I'm not saying exactly that I'm smarter than Elon Musk. Maybe you are saying it.